All right, that should do. The experience of the last couple of weeks has been that after I start the camera, it says it's live, but it doesn't actually go live for a few seconds. So, welcome to Huntington Beach, California. I'm a little bit midway between Lifeguard Tower 16 and 18 here on the city beach, where I am for every Saturday morning, or usually around sometime between 7 to 8 a.m. And I'm here to read aloud from my book, Going Alone. Today I'm going to read the final chapters, which is the final concluding section, plus a couple of little bits and pieces that I added along the way that round up the book. I wouldn't necessarily call this a story, so to speak, although it is a tale. But it certainly doesn't end in some ways that books usually end. It more like ends like final thoughts, a couple of recommendations, a contribution from a reader, and then the end. So let's get started. The waves are pretty good. There's a good onshore breeze that's blowing this morning. Lots of surfers, but that wind is probably going to pick up a little bit later. I'll start knocking those waves down. I'll go for a swim afterwards and do my laps. So here we go. Final section, which is here at the end. First part's really short. It's not even a page. It's final thoughts. It's just that little chapter right there, and it's got a bit of art by Emily. Someone in the desert, probably me, casting a pale shadow. Final thoughts before I leave you alone. Now this last bit here, I would be lying if I would say I'm 100% satisfied with it. I think I could have done a better job with this, and I'm all right with the way it ends. But it just doesn't feel, it feels like it's 80%. Like I could do a better job. Let's read it. Remember, this is at the very end of the book. I intended this to be the very last part. The concluding piece, the thing that would wrap everything up. And I put in bold 3 terms here. I put going alone as in bold, indifference is in bold, and then the good life is in bold. Because those are the 3 things that tie everything together in the story. Going alone is the act of searching, the indifference is the great encounter, and the good life is the resulting creed developed out of the recognition that I'm on my own. To a greater or lesser degree. Going alone is less about going solo into wild places, or living tolerant of solitude, or without the warm blessing of family and friends, and more about a willingness to carry on through life with a positive, optimistic spirit, in spite of the perceived void-like indifference of nature. It's about making life good and just and communal, where the responsibility for defining goodness is our own, resting on our own shoulders, with additional responsibility to live well, and to also actively work to improve this good living with each passing day. You are among this tribe if you do not shy away from what you find or do not find in the wild, or in solitude, or in the quiet moments alone with your mind. And if you decide instead to actively do something about these discovered facts in order to make something beautiful and meaningful of your brief life and days, and if you do this of your own volition mostly, not relying on others to pave over and civilize the wild with their own unfounded explanation, excuse, or dogma, then you will rise to your full stature as a person of reason, an individual of truth, someone humbled and in awe of the uncertain night and willing to live the good life in that dim, obscure place to the end of your days, or until discovery and effort at last reveal or produce some truer light. Continue the adventure at goingalone.org. That's it for the final thoughts. Now, like I said, 80%. I really think I could do this better, and maybe that'll be something I'll work on. The next bit after that, well, there's this image here from my daughter, and there's a thing above it that says, "Be safe, but not too safe," which is my motto. Now, there's the epilogue here. Okay, so this is actually a quote. I put it into italics because it's a quote, and it's from Nathaniel Hawthorne from my favorite book, The House of the Seven Gables. And to me, these two large paragraphs really just summed up the whole of my book. Everything in my book is in these 2 paragraphs. If I could distill down, if I could ask AI to distill my whole book into 2 paragraphs of prose, I couldn't be happier if it had produced this. So fortunately, Nathaniel Hawthorne did the work for me long before I was born. Here we go. Epilogue. This is pulling right from The House of the Seven Gables. It's describing the organ grinder that appeared in front of the grand house, the old man's, grinding away, and then the impact, the people in the streets, and the impression of the man's work. Here we go. Quoting from Hawthorne. This was observable when one of those Italian boys came along with his barrel organ and stopped under the wide and cool shadows of the elm. This is in front of the big house, the old man's, right? The big tree in front. With his quick professional eye, he took note of the 2 faces watching him from the arched window, and, opening his instrument, began to scatter its melodies abroad. He had a monkey on his shoulder, dressed in a Highland plaid, and to complete the sum of splendid attractions wherewith he presented himself to the public, there was a company of little figures, whose spheres and habitation was in the mahogany case of his organ, and whose principle of life was the music which the Italian made it his business to grind out. In all their variety of occupation, the cobbler, the blacksmith, the soldier, the lady with her fan, the toper with his bottle, the milkmaid sitting by her cow, this fortunate little society might truly be said to enjoy a harmonious existence and to make life literally a dance, just like us. The Italian turned a crank, and behold, every one of these small individuals started out into the most curious vivacity. The cobbler wrought upon a shoe, the blacksmith hammered his iron, the soldier waved his glittering blade, the lady raised a tiny breeze with her fan, the jolly toper swigged lustily at his bottle, a scholar opened his book with eager thirst for knowledge, and turned his head to and fro along the page. The milkmaid energetically drained her cow, and a miser counted gold into his strong box, all at the same turning of a crank. Yes, and moved by this same self-impulse, a lover saluted his mistress on her lips. Possibly some cynic, at once merry and bitter, had desired to signify in this pantomimic scene that we mortals, whatever our business or amusement, however serious, however trifling, all dance to one identical tune, and in spite of our ridiculous activity, bring nothing to pass. Great indifference. For the most remarkable aspect of the affair was that, at the sensation of the music, everybody was petrified at once. From the most extravagant life into a dead torpor. Neither was the cobbler's shoe finished, nor the blacksmith's iron shaped out, nor was there a drop less brandy in the toper's bottle, nor a drop more milk in the milkmaid's pail, nor one additional coin in the miser's strong box, nor was the scholar a page deeper in his book. All were precisely in the same condition as before. They made themselves so ridiculous by their haste to toil, to enjoy, to accumulate gold, and to become wise. Saddest of all, moreover, the lover was none the happier for the maiden's granted kiss, but rather than swallow this last too acrid ingredient, we reject the whole moral of the show. Nathaniel Hawthorne. Probably my favorite 2 paragraphs from literature. Amazing. Captures the whole of my book in one fell swoop. Next, Ecclesiastes 9, straight from the Bible. I do read the Bible each and every day, study 1 chapter a day, give it deep thought and a reflection. Do that first thing at dawn. This is a passage or a chapter from the Bible that I found basically reflected some of the ideas in my book. So let's read. Ecclesiastes 9. So, ostensibly God speaking, right? So I reflected on all this and concluded that the righteous and the wise and what they do are in God's hands. But no one knows whether love or hate awaits them. All share a common destiny. The righteous and the wicked, the good and the bad, the clean and the unclean, those who offer sacrifices and those who do not. As it is with the good, so with the sinful. As it is with those who take oaths, so with those who are afraid to take them. This is the evil in everything that happens under the sun. The same destiny overtakes all. The hearts of people, moreover, are full of evil, and there is madness in their hearts while they live, and afterwards they join the dead. Anyone who is among the living has hope. Even a live dog is better off than a dead lion. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. They have no further reward, and even their name is forgotten. Their love, their hate, and their jealousy have long since vanished. Never again will they have a part in anything that happens under the sun. Go, eat your food with gladness, and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for God has already approved of what you do. Always be clothed in white, and always anoint your head with oil. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun, all your meaningless days. For this is your lot in life, and in your toilsome labor under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. Interesting to find such a seemingly bleak description of the great indifference within the Bible, no less, and as describing a destiny seemingly for all, believers or non-believers. The last part of the book, at least kind of the prose part, is a short story called Ghost Town. This was given to me by a reader who read the book and asked to have a meeting with me. So I went and met this person who was an older man, former college professor, and he told me that the book was very significant in his life and that he wanted to meet me to talk about it, to go over a couple of points. And he wrote a story to give me. He had no intention for me to include it in the book. He simply wrote it as kind of a reflection of his own perspective in the life that he's lived. Now, he's looking at life from the end of his life. His days are done. His life is over. And he is now going slowly into the indifference that is the subject of the book. And he wrote a story called Ghost Town and gave it to me. And I asked his permission to include it in the book, and he granted it. And I left it anonymous because he intended it to be anonymous, probably to, well, you'll see when I read it, how you can gain the sense of being anonymous. And he intends it to be anonymous, which strikes home further the point of his story. Here we go. Ghost Town, written by Anonymous, given to me, and I have included it in the book as the last word in this book. Ghost Town. This is the reader's in the story that he wrote for me. I recently bought 2 books on ghost towns. I have some others too. As I read in them a bit, I saw the ghost town as a metaphor for my own life. I once had some action, in quote marks, going on. It may even have appeared to others as though I was something special. People called me and I called them. I spent time with people for both business and personal reasons. People probably talked about me more than I would have liked, and I am pleased that I was not listening in. I would have been embarrassed, but now no one does. I have become a ghost town. People see me, but I have no meaning in their lives at all. Some stop by in the form of a phone call, and I do have a few correspondents left, but that's all the visitation I receive now. Even some of the correspondence I send does not get quickly returned, as with Bill, June, and Aunt Sally, both ladies having finally died. This all reminds me of Mr. Flood's Party by Edward Arlington Robinson. Call me Evan Flood. Ghost towns are lonely places, especially at night, where the hotels and saloons once offered gaiety and diversion. The doors are permanently closed now, and electricity is no longer furnished. Houses which once gave shelter and witnessed family gatherings, and I dare say, procreating, well, these houses only serve the needs of lesser creatures seeking shelter undisturbed. The streets are completely and regrettably safe to wander. No one will bother you. The entire town now may in fact legally belong to one person, and even he or she doesn't care what happens there. The place may be worth more if it burns down. Even if the wood is too old for the fireplace, the oil and resins have evaporated. Even the wood is too old for the fireplace. The oil and resins have evaporated, the life gone out of it. There is no chance for recovery either. Hospice is not provided for ghost towns because it is futile. I think the town feels lonely most of the time. Some personal company would be most welcome, but moribund began long ago, and now the fact of death is ever present. So to offer any kind of succor at all would be wasteful in a society of disruptive efficiencies. I wonder what my name is. So that's the end of it. That's the man's story. I don't know if he's still alive. I did reach out to him once since he gave me this story. I thanked him for allowing me to include it. I wanted to meet with him and talk with him again, but he did not respond. Well, after that is a section which is the recommended reading. These are the books that I would recommend. I've had many people write to me asking about how I was able to pull off the life in Japan, and I guess now the life in America, and I'll soon be back in Japan, and they'll probably wonder how I was able to pull both of those off, especially with a family in tow. And I would say that it's mostly due to my experience and my reading, and I compiled a list of reading. It's simply 18 books that I would recommend anyone read, especially the young coming up, that find anything about what I do or what I write of interest. I would recommend these books in this particular order. I arrange them in this order as I believe they unfold in a way that the knowledge will build one book from another until the concluding factor. So here we go. Recommended reading. This section contains a list of my favorite books and titles worth reading as a foundation to good thought and the pursuit of your own philosophy. I've listed the books in order, in the order in which I would read them again. There are many more books I could recommend, though sometimes some books are enough, as suggested by Seneca. And here's a quote from Seneca. You must linger among a limited number of master thinkers and digest their works if you would derive ideas which shall win firm hold in your mind. And there's the quote right there, and here's the books. Let me go ahead and read the 18 titles in order. Number 1, this is the book I would start with, Walden by Henry David Thoreau, because that's the book I started with, the first serious book of my life. 2, Cosmos by Carl Sagan. 3, The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. 4, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. If you can find the George Long translations, there's lots of good translations of Marcus Aurelius, but by far the George Long really resonates with me more than any other. It's a little bit hard to find though, you have to dig and hunt for it. Moby Dick by Herman Melville. The Discourses by Epictetus. You see, I'm interspersing at this point philosophy with literature. The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. Epistles of Seneca, or as it's sometimes called, the Letters of Seneca, the Moral Letters of Seneca. Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson. All of Emerson's essays are good, but Self-Reliance in particular. Usually you'll find Self-Reliance within a collection of Emerson's works. You can pick that one out and read that one in particular, but they're all good. The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins, the first science book, other than Cosmos. I would consider The Selfish Gene a little bit more of a hard science, and hard in terms of, hard hitting. The House of the Seven Gables, my favorite book of all time by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Second, Nathaniel Hawthorne shows up twice in my list. Deliberately, he is my favorite author. Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard, I think the only woman in the list. Code of Hammurabi, now we're starting to get out of the classical philosophy and the foundation of literature, now starting to delve more into religion. So we'll start off with the Code of Hammurabi, because when we get to the Bible, we'll need the Code of Hammurabi kind of as a foundation. It'll harken back. You'll recognize when you get into the Bible, you'll start to recognize, that's stuff that was more ancient stuff from the Code of Hammurabi. It's like understanding where a lot of the Bible ideas came from. Then the Enuma Elish which is the Babylonian epic of creation. That's going to be really, really helpful when we get to the Noah flood story, and you're going, wait a minute, that's the same damn story. The Torah, but not any Torah. You want to read the Torah before the Bible, because the Torah, of course, was before the Bible, and it forms the Pentateuch, forms the first 5 books of the Bible, and that'll give you the Jewish perspective, because the Jews came first, right, before the Christians, and before the Muslims. So if you read the Torah first, then you've got that foundation from looking at those books from the Jewish perspective. In particular, and this is really important, find and this is really hard to do if you don't speak Hebrew or Hebrew, is find a version that with the commentary by Rabbi Rashi, who is the de facto, go-to guy for most serious, Orthodox Jews. They'll refer to, there's rabbi commentary, but then there's the commentary of Rabbi Rashi. So I do have a good, beautiful copy, but it's really hard to read. It's got the Hebrew in there and the English. I have yet to find a really good one. There is an online website, the Shabbat website, and thank you to my friend Black Hat for turning me on to this. He's an Orthodox Jewish man who's been very helpful to me over the years. Longtime friend of my YouTube channel, longtime friend, and has helped me greatly. And he turned me on to the Shabbat website, which is probably the best reference if you want to have read the Torah and then have the commentary from Rabbi Rashi. Absolutely fascinating. I like to have hardbound. I don't like online reading. I like to have hard stuff. Haven't found a good one. If you can find one, hot dog for you. The Torah with commentary by Rabbi Rashi. That's book number 15. After that, then you're ready for the Bible. You've got all that literature, all that basic foundation science in the background in terms of cosmology and biology. You've got the Code of Hammurabi and the Enuma Elish as well. So you've got the old, more ancient perspectives that led up to the Torah and then the Bible, and now you jump into the Bible. Here's how I recommend the Bible. The Bible, especially if you're like me, you're a Western man or woman, the Bible is foundational to our society. So I never give up on the Bible. It's not, even though I'm not a believer, I read the Bible every day, 1 chapter a day. It's the very first thing I do after I do my Good Life meditation. I go straight to that. I used to do it first thing after I wake up, but I do it right after the Good Life meditation. And I read 1 chapter and I sit and I think about it. And I have been doing that for years and years and years, and I just keep cycling through the Bible. I start at the beginning. I started at the beginning at Genesis and finish at Revelation, and then the very next day I'm back to the beginning. And I read the Bible in two versions. I read the King James edition and the NEV, the new NIV, New International Version. So I get those two perspectives, and just read the whole damn thing whole, all the way through. And just keep on going for the rest of my life. It takes me about 3.5 years to read the Bible all the way through, and then I go back from the start. And that's a very important part of my day, and I enjoy it very, very greatly. I'm in the book of Matthew right now. Just about to wrap up the book of Matthew again, and making my way through the New Testament. And if you do that, you're going to find yourself in a position, whether you're a believer or not. If you're a believer, then you're going to have good foundation for your belief, hopefully. If you're not a believer, then you're going to find yourself in a very informed position and ready for interesting discussions with believers. Because if you're a non-believer like me, they come to you, right? They come to you. There's proselytizing. I get stopped on the street. I live right across the street from a Mormon temple, and I get stopped by the elders all the time. They'll stop by on my walks on their little bike, stopping and asking to give me a little picture of Jesus. I'll take the picture of Jesus, and we'll have the most interesting discussions. And I find myself able to talk from an informed perspective because I understand the Bible, both the Old Testament and the New Testament, as well as the literature and that describes the world that led up to it. And we have very interesting talks. And then to round things up, 2 more to go. Book number 17 is on the nature of the universe by Lucretius, and then on man and the universe by Aristotle, again keeping with the ancient world, wrapping up some ancient perspectives on cosmology and the world. And then from there, I leave it to you to continue your reading. Follow your bliss and your interest as it may go. But that's my reading list that I would offer if anybody's interested. After that, it's just the appendix. And then that's the end of the book. And at the very end of the book, there's a little sticker here at the end that says, this book is part of a series of 3 books. No More Looking Out for Number 1 is number 1, Going Alone is number 2, and the book 3 is The Good Life. The Good Life is written. I finished writing that book 2 years ago. I just haven't finished editing the dang thing. It's gonna take me probably 2 years or more to edit. It's on the back burner. I'm still finishing editing Freeway Bible Study. Even though Freeway Bible Study is published, I'm still working on the editing. And I just finished editing 2 days ago Stoic Poetry Volume 1. That'll be coming out probably within 2 weeks. It'll be available to purchase. And then I keep saying I'm ready to die, but I would love to finish The Good Life because it is the conclusion of the 3 books, right? It would bring. I really should stop telling myself I'm ready to die until that book's done. But it really doesn't matter. Everything is in this book. Everything I wanted to say is in this book. If I don't finish, if I die before The Good Life is done, that's all right. And so there's no hurry. What do I mean by that? No hurry. There's no need to finish it, but it would be nice. It'd be icing on the cake. Let's see if there's any comments. Oh, the Ghost of Sabotage. Hi, a long time ago. Hello, no picture of yourself? What? Oh, no picture of myself. Is there no video? Oh, I don't know. Well, that's all right. All right, take care, everybody. Be safe. I'm going to go for a swim now and do some laps. I'm going to swim all the way. I do laps between Lifeguard Tower 18 and Lifeguard Tower 16. I swim out and then go in the book. I mean, oh, no picture of me? Yeah, there's a picture. Oh, you said in the book. There's a picture on the back cover. Is that what you mean? It's not a picture. It's a painting. One of my YouTube channel viewers painted this. You can see the signature right there. And I feel really, really, really bad because I can't remember who. I thought I had written down the attribution of who it was that did this. I mean, this is not like a digital rendition painting. This is a real painting. You know, and I feel really bad because I would love to attribute. I would love to put somewhere the author portrait by so and so. I can't remember. So if you're out there and you painted this and you remember and you see this, send me an email, dinnerbytheriver@gmail.com. Dinner by the river, just like it sounds. Having a dinner by the river. Yeah, I've had that, and I will attribute you, and I'll send you a copy of the book too. Yeah, I've had that for years. This is me. I'm not going to change that. It's going to be the one for the rest of my life. I'm so appreciative and impressed by the work that someone actually painted me. That's the me, right? I don't care what anything else. So all my book, even if I'm still writing books when I'm 80 years old, that's going to be the author photo. Okay, time to go for a swim. Thanks for hanging out with me, Ghost of Sabotage, and thank you for being with me so long. You are one of the oldest, longest names that I recall, and all the time I've spent on social media and YouTube, and I really do appreciate your long support. We'll be getting back out into Japan soon, Ghost of Sabotage. Take care. Bye-bye. You too. Have a good day.